to you? Yes. Okay, so there's actually a lot of the Virgin Mary stories. The Virgin Mary story is not unique. I know, it's very meaningful to a lot of people of religious faith, but it's not unique to the creation stories. In fact, there's many, many female beings who had given birth without a male to conceive. You could consider it almost a symbol. So sometimes we take things, mythos, literally, which you're welcome to do. Religion is also mythos. It's just what it is. So we have mythology and stories and archetypes within all of the religions. And it's your belief behind it that is personal to you. So we talked about Uranus, and we talked about Saturn, the keeper of time. Of course, these are the Roman names. Now, I keep referring to them the Roman names because I'm an astrologer, so I like to look at these through astrological view. However, these are, they all have their Greek is their original names. Okay, so they're but the same character. All right. So we have a lot of art around Saturn because Saturn is the clock. And he also represents what you're doing right now, which is going to college and getting a degree and pass and go. You don't pass go without your degree, right? So basically you have to go through the steps and you have to do them one by one and get your ticket and pass go. Just like you can't travel without a passport, that's very Saturnian, okay? The rules and regulations. So when you get your degree, Saturn has given you a go. You work really, really hard for it, and you work really, really slow for it. And Kronos is his original name, the type. We talked about Aphrodite, which is Venus, right? And also we have a Venus culture here. We have we talked about the goddess culture. It was Aphrodite originally. I'm just gonna shut this door. So actually, it's so interesting because if you go to Greece, you can go to all the islands where all the gods and goddesses were born, okay, all the titans. You can go to their places of birth. They take it very, very seriously, so I know I'm repeating myself, but some of you might appreciate the repetition. So we talked about this last time. This is the beach where Aphrodite was birthed out of Uranus's testicles that were thrown in the sea, right? And everything's very dramatic in Greece, right? Like everything is kind of shocking. It has like a shock value to it. Also a very sexual nature. Here is Aphrodite as a male and a female. This is actually a Greek sculpture, okay? So it's very interesting. Now we have our obsession of Venus, and this is Botticelli's Venus painting that everybody has seen. It is pop culture. It's very popular. It's from the Renaissance, right? As a planet. So Venus has always been seen with the naked eye, and she's brilliant and beautiful, and sometimes she's brighter depending on how close she is to the planet Earth. And everything in Greek culture, and actually everything in the ancient culture is, can you put your phone away back there? Okay, everything in the Greek culture and the ancient culture is in relationship to the sky. We actually don't look at the sky very much, but nothing existed without looking at the sky and navigating through the sky. And so now some of us look through the sky with telescopes and computer animation and can see the path of Venus creates this star. And then we have Mars, who is Aries. And today we have the password war, because we're in war right now. But we've never been out of war, okay? War has always been a thing. It's just like, how accelerated is it, right? War is the machine that keeps everything going here in the control system. Without war, there is no control, okay? So that is how everything is controlled, and we're gonna see that throughout art history, actually. So Mars is very important, but he is the god of war, but he's also the god of aggression, right? So Athena is actually the goddess of war too, but she is more of the strategist. Okay, so all of these paintings are dedicated to Eris. However, when we get to Rome, they're obsessed with Mars. He becomes Mars, and the Roman culture is the most masculine culture of them all. Okay, and we are going to get there on Tuesday. Rome is pure masculine. Okay, so we can talk about matriarchies and patriarchies, but you can see it in the art, you can see it in the culture of the time. So basically what happened is Mars rules. Okay, he becomes the most important figure when it comes to Rome. In fact, so here we have Greece, where we have buildings dedicated to the female goddesses, and in Rome, it's all the male gods. Okay, so we have football comes from Rome. Okay, and we're going to talk about the football stadium actually is from Rome, and like halftime, all this stuff. This is extremely masculine in principle, and it all comes from the Roman Empire, because this is the warring age. This is the age of the ram, and it's all about war and masculinity. And you can see it in the art and what they cherish. We talked about goddess Athena. She's like a feminine principle that is strong in a masculine way, but not a masculine principle. Okay, and we have an asteroid named after her. And the Parthenon is dedicated to her. She's a very serious goddess, okay, so they took her very, very seriously. And here's some more sculptures. And the beautiful painting from John Singer Sargent, okay, so a beautiful obsession. You can see how she is created bigger than even the male figures, right? Because she's more important. And she is a goddess, not a human. She's not human, okay? We talked about Jupiter, and a lot of our things that we consider today as Christianity, such as like Santa Claus, is derived from the Greek mythology, okay? So it actually has its roots here. And even further, we talked, because the Greeks only borrowed from the Egyptians, who borrowed from the Sumerians, so everything's borrowed from the past. So Jupiter is jolly. Okay, and jolly comes from the Saint Nick, and this is all part of the Greek mythology. All right, so we have Poseidon, and we now have cultures. We have movies, you know, the movie anyway there's a lot of movies about Greek mythology, but that was there's an obsession with Atlantis as well with the Greeks. So if you think about, you know, we talked about Atlantis and the possibility of Atlantis, and that is way before even Sumeria, even before culture on planet Earth that we know of. So people are still obsessed with that. We talked about Gorgons, okay, so they all stem from the Medusa myth. Gargoyles are all over the place in Europe. And we talked about the Muses, and we talked about the symbol for medicine, the caduceus symbol. This is actually the caduceus symbol, so the real symbol of medicine is one snake. And this is the symbol of commerce. And it's ruled by Hermes, which is Mercury, the messenger god. Asclepius is actually the god of medicine, not Mercury. Mercury has nothing to do with medicine, and that's his symbol. And you can see it as a snake and a rock. We talked about the Fates, which is very deep and poetic and philosophical, and you can see how the Renaissance were obsessed with the Greek times. Because is it fate? That's also like in your astrology chart. Are you like destined to, is this an imprint that you're born into and you're fated to, or do you have free will? And this is always the big moral dilemma that people have talked about from the beginning of time, right? Even in religious context.